Hey everyone, thank you for joining us in the Light Stand, episode 2. We are Art and Natalie, your host and co-host. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had a fantastic day today. And let's chat about why the Light Stand, why we're doing this podcast. So, man, we've been blessed with some amazing friends, with some amazing mentors and some amazing relationships. Where have you guys ever gone for a cup of coffee with a really good friend, and then, you guys just start talking, and then 3 hours later, boom, they're closing up on you and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it was 20 minutes because, you have deep conversations and meaningful conversations that add value to your life and things like that. And we just had so many of those recently, and we're like, you know what? I think a lot of people would benefit from, just what we've learned over the years of these types of conversations. They say that small minds talk about other people, average minds talk about events, but great minds discuss ideas. And we just want to share, some just everything that we've been through, man. I mean, we've been together since we were 16, together 21 plus years now. We have an almost 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, starters in football, AB honor roll. They're good kids, like just never have to worry about, getting calls from the cops or anything. Complete black and white from what I was for my mom and dad, at least.
Yeah.
I know you were a goody two shoes, babe.
Yeah, I was actually. No lie. Yeah, I mean, I guess because I grew up in the strict household, I was actually, quote unquote, scared of like my parents, but
I was scared of your dad for sure.
yeah.
Well, your mom was pretty scary back then too.
Yeah, she was. But no, yeah, I never, I guess it's never been an interest of mine going to parties, like drinking or, doing drugs. Like that was never something that caught my attention. I guess because I never, I was actually the weird one in school, and I didn't have friends. Like I was very introverted, and it was very hard for me to make friends. So I guess I didn't hear about it, or I was very like practically lived under a rock. But yeah, thankfully I didn't experience anything like that. In the sense of like partying and seeing things that I shouldn't have. So I'm glad I didn't. I have no regrets. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of. I'm glad that you touched on that, because it's a little bit of like the whole friend thing.
Yeah.
Now we know, after learning what we've learned about trauma, that it wasn't your fault.
Right.
It wasn't your personality, quote unquote. It wasn't, quote unquote, just the way you are.
Right.
It's because of what you saw when you were growing up.
Yeah. And, we'll leave that for later.
Right.
But, yeah, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, like I mentioned before. It's 2 brothers, 2 sisters. And, yeah, growing up, I did see a lot of things, unfortunately, but my parents were, I guess you can say, were being the best parents that they could, or that they knew how to, because I don't even think that they knew how to be parents. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they had traumas of their own too. Growing up, yeah. And yeah, it was pretty hard. My mom didn't have friends, and if she did, unfortunately, those relationships didn't last. And
for specific reasons.
Correct. And
she didn't even have a mom.
Right. She lost her mom at 7. I think she was 7 years old. is what she told me. She unfortunately lost her in a house fire in Mexico. But yeah, so she didn't have that love from a mom. And honestly, like, she didn't know how to show love. She never did. So, fast forward to when you and I were dating. I mean, it was hard. It was hard for me to trust you, because of what I would see, what I would hear. And she would,
As a little girl.
yeah. And she would instill in my sister and I that you don't depend on a man. You graduate, you go to college, and you make it on your own, so that you don't have to depend on a man. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of trauma is how, unfortunately, molds us as children, and that's how we grow up into our relationships, like with all that stuff.
Yep. And that brings us back to the why.
Right.
Why of this podcast. I want to read to you Matthew 5:14-16. I was praying, God, what do I name it? What do we name this podcast? The purpose of this podcast, where our heart is at, is we just want to help people. We've been blessed, and we're humbled and fortunate that several couples have reached out to us, even outside of church, saying, hey, we admire your relationship. We admire your marriage, and, we're struggling right now. Can you help us out? I've had guys reach out and say, hey, she mentioned she wants a divorce already. We're on the brink, and I need help.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a responsibility. But again, man, we're super humbled and honored that, people would even consider us to just sow into their life a little bit. And that's where this idea came from. It's, how can we make this bigger? We can sit down with one couple at a time, but how cool would it be to impact more couples and more families? And, the more we share with listeners, and the more we share with struggling men and women out there, people that think that there's no hope anymore, people that think that, man, I'm just living with a roommate at this point. I'm just, we haven't kissed each other in months, maybe even years. We don't even cuddle. We haven't had sex in,
I mean, just the fact, I've heard sorry to interrupt.
No.
If there's been situations where they're married and they're actually sleeping in different rooms. And that's sad. Like,
yeah. Or they start, or they start looking for love elsewhere, which is the worst of the worst, man. And a lot of this, we're going to dig deep into it with several episodes, because, we don't want 5-hour long episodes, right?
Right.
But there's so much to dive into. And, that there is a thing called generational curses.
Yeah.
That is an actual thing.
Yeah.
Just how there is a law of gravity. I don't care if you don't believe in gravity. You can jump off the roof, and I don't care how much you don't believe it, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Down.
Right.
It's an unseen force, yet it's there. So just how there's a law of gravity, there's a law of sowing and reaping.
Right.
You reap what you sow, 100%. No one sows corn and gets watermelon.
Right.
No one sows sunflowers and gets bananas. You reap what you sow. And unfortunately, the generations behind us have been sowing and reaping, whether intentionally or unintentionally and ignorantly, incorrectly.
Yeah.
They've, I know in my generational past, there's, from what I know, I am a 4th generation down, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. There's 3 generations above me that were all divorced. My father, my grandfather, and my grandfather's father. That's how far back I've investigated so far. At least from both my mom and my dad's side, that not only did those relationships end in divorce, but the pattern was they always left their wife for another woman.
Wow.
And sometimes started another family. Or, just stepped into the family that the woman already had. So anyway, I digress. praying back to the prayer, man. There's so much, man. Our hearts are full. Going back to the prayer of God, what do we name this? He brought us to Matthew 5:14-16. It says, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father."
Right.
So that's where the light stand came. It's, man, this podcast is a stand.
Mm-hmm.
This is a stand. This is a platform where, we're going to have awesome people come over, people with fruit.
Yeah.
I know you and I have been diligently thinking about who we can invite.
Right.
That has something to share, that has something to add value to the world.
Yes.
To create impact, and to move people into the right direction, which is a happy family, and untraumatized children, right?
Right.
There's a quote that I saw and that I absolutely loved. It's by Charles Raison, Raison. It says, "One generation full of deeply loving parents would change the brain of the next generation. And with that, the world."
Oof.
So if you think about it, it only takes you, if you're listening right now, you have the power to make a decision to say, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Whatever I was carrying from my past generations, I don't have to live that. I don't have to own that.
Right.
I have the power to break this chain of divorce. I have the power to break the chain of unhappy children. I have the power to break the chain of emotional unavailability.
Right.
I have the power to change the chain of, treating my wife like garbage.
Yeah.
I have the power to break the chains of, I don't know how you say it in English, machismo. Where, you're a tyrant in your house. You think you're being a man,
like a macho.
but there you go, like a macho bravado. Raising your voice at everything that you don't like. Having no patience for your children, for your wife, having no grace, giving them no space to commit any type of little mistake, because they're afraid of their father, or they're afraid of their husband, and you're just domineering. It's not a home full of love. It's a home full of fear.
Yeah.
And your children are afraid to confide in you anything that they're going through school, because instead of you saying, "Hey son, hey daughter, I'm here for you," they're going to say, "Man up," or "Stop wasting my time with this,"
Yeah.
or, "Shut up and take it," or I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. So.
Yeah. I mean, and you touched a lot on good points. Like we're here to be that little beacon of hope, that light for you all that are going through, maybe close to divorce or mental health. You guys are struggling with suicidal thoughts, with depression, with anger, anxiety. If you don't feel loved, we made this podcast to give you that hope, to be that light at the end of the tunnel. We're here to give you guys a little bit of advice, and you guys listen to us so that you guys you guys know that there's hope out there in this dark world. And we're excited,
man. The darker this world gets, it becomes more challenging to believe that there's hope, because now, with social media especially, and the news and stuff like that, there's so much negative, man. There's always posting of, people messing up. I have a ton of screenshots. Shout out to FitFam, because I don't like watching the news. So, it's a cool Instagram channel that I follow for my daily, what's going on in my city. And I'm looking for the post here. It was a teenager that stole a car and crashed.
Oh, the 17-year-old.
And they had 2 passengers that burned.
Well, the story was, I believe, the 17-year-old was the one that passed away, and the other 2 teenagers, they got burned. They had burns, but they took off. They left the scene, and the 17-year-old unfortunately passed away. But I mean,
yeah, I found it. It says the parents of no name. I'm not going to say the name. 17-year-old that died in last week's fiery crash on X Street gave an emotional yet cautionary interview. A recent report has revealed that juvenile crime is on a sharp rise and that parents need to be even more involved with their children.
oof. Yeah.
So why are we living in this world, dude? Why is there so much junk? Why do you see so many kids going through what they're going through, man? You know, and just because you go to church, if you go to church, you know, you might be listening to this and you don't even believe in God. That's okay. You know, we believe, but you know, we're not going to shove it down your throat. You know, we're not religious or anything like that. You know, we believe in God, we believe in Jesus, but if you don't, that's fine. But whether you do or whether you don't, you can't deny the fact that there's a lot of this stuff going on every day.
Right.
Why?
Uninvolved parents.
Uninvolved parents. Yeah. Why? Why are they uninvolved? Here we go back to the generational thing. Maybe they didn't learn. Right. They didn't learn how to love their kids. Maybe they grew up in a house where there wasn't love there. You know? And why? And you go back another generation. Well, the way they grew up, you know, maybe something happened to their parents, like your mom. Yeah. You know, grew up without a mom. And, you know, she didn't learn the basics of love. Right. You know, she didn't know what it felt like to be embraced by your mother. Can you imagine that? You know, or growing up never feeling a true hug from your father. Right. You know, or growing up and never hearing the words, I love you from your dad. Never hearing, I'm proud of you.
Good job.
Good job. You know, way to go, Tiger. Yeah. Whatever.
And this goes back to the love languages. I mean, there's, that's a book that I would recommend to you all parents or couples, like the 5 love languages. And there's the love languages for children or teenagers. Like our children we need to know what our children's love language is as well, so that we can have an effective relationship with them. And it's like, guys, if we want a change for our children, like it has to start with us. Like we need to be the change.
We need to be the example.
Like, yeah, of course.
And you have to take it upon yourself. I honestly believe, man, that if you're listening to this, it's for a reason. And my prayer and hope, man, is that you truly own where you're at in your life, whether you have children or not yet. You know, that you create that ripple effect for your future generations, for your future children, and that you action. And what does action look like? Action means you're going to learn what it takes to become a better man. You're going to learn what it takes to become a better father. You're going to learn what it takes to be a better husband. Well, how do I do that? Well, start reading, my friend.
Yeah.
Start listening to some, you know, podcasts. Hint, hint. Yeah. Not necessarily, you know, this one's brand new, but, you know, I thank God, man, that, you know, the right men came into my life when they did, which was right after my dad left. And we can dive into it in a separate episode again, because this one we want to keep a very high level of the why, what the purpose of this podcast is. But when I was 19, my sister, I have a younger sister who's 5 years younger. And in, you know, right before her quinceañera, we find out that my dad was cheating on my mom. If you've ever gone through it, you know the pain. If you haven't gone through it, it's inexplicable. It's feeling your heart ripped out, knowing that life isn't just not going to be the same. But more than that is seeing the pain in the eyes of my mom and my sister. Of, you know, this is a man that's supposed to be, you know, a pillar in your life. and you just got slapped with one of the ultimate betrayals,
Yeah.
because from my mom, this is your partner, right? This is your spouse. And for my sister, this is the one man in your life that's supposed to be everything for you, and now knowing that that man is going to go treat another woman, another daughter as his own, it was pretty bad. And I kind of hit a downward spiral in life there pretty quickly. But God had other plans. And, I just, like I told the story in episode 1, I hit rock bottom pretty much, with consuming a lot of alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. And I was hugging that toilet with vomit on myself, on my chest, and thinking, God, what am I doing, man? I need something. I need change. Yes, I'm hurting, but this isn't the way, change my life. Whatever that looks like, change my life, man.
Yeah.
Because, all I was doing was trying to numb the pain, and I hung out with some really good dudes, man. They were good. They all have good hearts. Some of them I haven't spoken to in years, but now going back and looking back, reflecting back as an adult, right? Mid-30s, looking back at those teenage years, it's like, wow. The one thing that me and my friends all had in common is that none of us had either a physical father at home or not the quote unquote, like the best father figure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
you could have a father figure at home, but if he's physically there, but mentally and emotionally not there,
right.
Just someone that comes home, pays the bills, sits down on TV, or sits down on the couch, watches TV for 4 or 5 hours, falls asleep on the couch, and that's pretty much it. And is uninvolved in your life and is uninterested in your life.
Yeah.
From an emotional aspect, what happens is you start looking for that fatherly love outside, but you don't know it. It's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
But you start getting validation and acceptance from outside influence. So I think that's what kind of made us all gravitate toward each other in middle school and high school. Me and my boys. Because we didn't have a quote unquote good father figure. Like none of us could say, dang, my dad's the best. I have the best dad in the world. And I don't want this to come across as my dad was horrible, because he was not.
Yeah.
And God knows, I don't know if he'll ever listen to this. He was a good dad. He provided. He was a great provider. Great provider. And, as a kid, never once did I have to worry about, am I going to have a roof over my head tomorrow? Yeah. I never had to think about, is there going to be food in the fridge when I open it? Or I wonder if I'm going to have clothes to wear, So in his own way, I think he showed love in his own way, in the only way that he knew. Because again, going back to the generational thing, his father left their house when he was 18, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And him being the oldest had to step into the shoes of being the man of the house. And, I've listened to his story, and he didn't grow up in the best household.
Right.
So there's a whole nother thing there that we can go into. But now that we're on this, I want to read to you something that touched my heart deeply. I'm not promoting, we're not sponsored by a publisher or books or anything like this, but this is a book from, his name is Stu Weber. And it says, quote, you and I come from a long line of men who made the wrong choice. That's why the pillars of manhood have fallen, and so many homes and lives lie in ruin in these closing days of the millennium. As a matter of fact, the ghost of one of your ancestors still haunts you right now. Look around you. See if you can catch the dark tones of his shadow as you turn the pages of this book. A single choice of your forefather, Adam, casts a shadow over your future. One little choice on just an average day at the office can affect you and your family for generations. In Adam's case, it has been thousands of years of impact so far. Adam stood at a crossroads one day. Adam, the only one of whom it could be accurately stated, "You're the man." He was the first man, the original, straight from the hand of God, pure masculinity, unadulterated and untainted. Your forefather and mine, our model and prototype, everything God wanted a man to be. They don't come any better than Adam did when he arrived on the scene. A real man walked the fresh pathways of a new planet. But like all of his future children, Adam had a decision to make. As he stood there that day, that seemingly ordinary day in the garden, he held a piece of fruit in his hand. His wife had indicated that it was a good thing. She should know. She had already tasted it. And the evil one, who would one day wear the title of the Prince of Power of the Air, had done everything he could to make it appealing. No piece of fruit had ever appeared so luscious and desirable. On the one hand, taking a bite made such sense to Adam. The voices in his ear were strong. On the other hand, he'd been told explicitly that he shouldn't touch it by no less an authority than God himself. Adam stood at a crossroads for the first time in his life. He was experiencing the tug of competing voices. Was he going to do what others around him wanted him to do? To the common route? Take the common route? The broad way? Or was he going to listen to the instructions of the Creator? Would he show some courage and do the right thing, choosing to take God at his word? Would he listen to the perfect father and friend? Or would he take the road that others would choose for him, a road that would prove to be incredibly well-traveled over the millennia? Would Adam calibrate the compass of his masculinity according to God's intentions or his own appetites? Well, you know the choice that Adam made. He decided to go his own way. And that single choice on that one day in history affected every move he would make and every thought he would think for the remaining 900 years or so of his life. It impacted every single member of his human family, his wife, his sons, his daughters, their mates, their children, their children's children for thousands of generations.
Well, that's deep.
So, men, you and I have a tremendous responsibility to be an example, to be the light at the end of the tunnel. And as we keep going through with these episodes, I'm going to have some amazing men of character, of value, of integrity, men that I respect their marriage and I admire their marriage, and men that I look up to. I admire the way they father their children. You know, we're going to have them on and we're going to talk about masculinity. We're going to talk about being men, real men, not little boys with a beard.
Dang.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
And I hope y'all are looking forward to that. Because we're going to keep it real, man. We're going to keep it raw. We're going to keep it honest. We're going to keep it blunt. But I like how T.D. Jakes says it. He says, I'm going to deliver the truth in a like a brick covered in velvet. And be the velvet covered brick.
Dang.
So, anything you want to add, babe?
No, well, really quick, just to touch on the topic or what you were talking about earlier of change, like pick up a book and read. And, so, you know, for myself, I'm speaking for myself, someone that's been through trauma, like we're like, oh, it's not that easy. Like, yeah, people tell me to do this, but I mean, it's easier said than done. Right. But guys, it got to the point in our lives where, it was either change or lose your family. And I was like, you know what? I need to change. No matter how hard it is for me to pick up a book and read, or listen to a podcast, guys, once you do it and make it a habit, it's not that hard and it's well worth it. So just that little piece of advice.
Yeah, don't be passive.
Yeah.
Don't be passive, guys and ladies.
Yeah.
You have to be absolutely intentional. Have you ever noticed that weeds, especially if you live here in El Paso, but have you ever noticed that weeds grow no matter what?
Yeah.
Weeds grow, dude, weeds grow through the concrete.
Oh, yeah.
Like how? How is that even possible? You don't have to, I've never seen anybody plant weeds. Well, like those bad ones. Not, the intentional legal stuff right now in a couple of states. But you know what I'm talking about. Those ugly weeds that pop up in your garden. The ones that pop up in your backyard. We were fortunate, God bless us with a brand new home that was built. But when the thing is, if you ever bought a brand new home, is that it's not landscaped. So your backyard is dirt, literally. And what happened a couple months later, babe?
Full of weeds. It was ridiculous.
Full of weeds. Not grass.
Right.
Not beautiful, lush, well manicured, movie picturesque.
Not at all.
Grass.
Nope.
Weeds. Ugly, nasty, disgusting, tall, prickly, ugly weeds. I didn't plant them. Did you plant them?
Nope.
But they just grew.
Yeah.
And it's El Paso. It rarely rains out here.
I mean, the winds bring them in. So that's all we have.
So but the point is that pay attention to how life works. The negative things in life require no intentionality, yet they happen. And the positive things in life require a lot of intentionality, a lot of care, a lot of effort, a lot of labor. If you ever visit someone, if you're ever driving by a nice neighborhood and you see those perfectly manicured grass lawns, they're few and far in between here in El Paso. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Like those beautiful green lawns. Mm-hmm. If you ask the owner, how do you do it? Dude, he's waking up in the morning, to water. He's planting, the seeds. I know my uncle, he has an amazing backyard and his grass is like that, that picturesque. And he has his kids make fun of him, because he looks funny. He has like these special grass shoes that they have like long spikes or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And he says that he has to stomp on through the grass to create little holes so that the grass can breathe. I was like, what? This is totally alien to me. But whatever he's doing, it works. It requires fertilizer. It requires this and that. Intentionality.
Right.
So invest in yourself. Invest in you. We all have a responsibility to be the best versions of us so that we can add value to our spouses, so that we can raise the best children that we can. And I'm not talking about, straight A student and this and that. We're talking about, man, does your kid have a heart of gold?
Yeah.
Do they like to serve people? Are they humble, but confident and competent, Yeah. So, but anyhow, I think we, touched a lot on the why. Mm-hmm. Our hearts are absolutely full. We are excited for what is coming. Stay tuned because we are just getting started, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day. God bless you.